Today, I want to share with you why these 5 garden tools are the most important tools to have in your garden, no matter if you're a very early beginner or you've been doing this a long time. So it's raining a lot today off and on, so I figure I just throw my rain jacket on and we'll make this video in the garden today, regardless of if we're getting soaked or not. Well, that brings me to my first tool. And everybody knows that watering is absolutely a must for plants, duh. But the tool that you use for watering is just as important as how you're watering your plants. And that's why my first pick is a long neck spray attachment. These long neck spray attachments are so good for so many things. Not only do they help you to have the different options at the end, just like a handheld one, but it allows you to get up and above to any high plants that might need watered if you're hanging baskets and things like that. Turn the soaker setting on. As your plants get bigger, and especially in the summertime, you don't want to water your plants' leaves. And so one of these long neck soakers, basically what you can do is you can just take the soaker and you can just stand nice and tall, don't have to bend over anything, and you can water at soil level for your plants. And that's why this is like an absolute no-brainer pick for the #1 and most important thing you need to have in your garden. This next pick is something that you might already have in your garden, and that is a shovel, a little handheld. No, I'm just kidding. These are stupid. So screw it, that's not the tool, right? The second tool that I want to recommend is seed starting cells. And the reason I think this is a must, even for beginners, seed starting is kind of tricky, but it is absolutely cheaper to start your plants in seed cells than it is to buy healthy plants at the nursery. I also think that seed starting is just a rite of passage when it comes to gardening. And if you buy these really great seed cell trays, then you're actually going to set yourself up for a lot more success. Now, I have a video explaining some of the other seeds that I just started in my garden and some of the tools like this that you can use and how to use them. But really, that's kind of the main thing. I use these 6 cells and sometimes the 4 cells if I'm really feeling it. But starting seeds is probably the #2 thing that you really need to do in the garden to save money, to enjoy the gardening experience, to see a cute little seedling block like this go into your garden bed and turn into plants that then produce food for your garden. And I just love these because they've got so many cool things, like the bottom of it has this little plug so you can just push your finger through and a plug literally comes out. But also the sides have these little slots for air pruning, which means that you don't have to worry about all the issues with fungus and gnats and mold and algae and all the random crap that you'll run into with most seed starting cells. So I'll link these below if you want to check them out, but these are an absolute must, I think, for any gardener in the modern era. My next pick is the one of these that you definitely should not be calling your friend. It's not a fork, it's not a rake, it's a hoe. A hoe is useful for so many things in the garden. And most of the tools that you'll notice is how I like to garden without having to bend over constantly. So on that note, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna back up so you can see this. The reason I like to have a garden hoe is for a lot of things. It's obviously not very good for like shoveling things, but the amount of times that your soil will get compacted or will have surface weeds, or you'll have something that you just need to kind of like dig up or chop up or something like that, that a hoe comes in handy. And especially in the springtime, I look at my beds and there's all of these little guys that just kind of need to not exist. And so you can just use the surface of the hoe and you can kind of mix stuff up, you can chop stuff up, and it just allows the little baby seedlings of weeds and stuff to die and not take root in your garden, which is really great. I also specifically have this massive willow tree that hangs over half of my garden. And if you've ever had a willow tree, you know that they constantly are dropping tiny little sticks and branches and all kinds of crap. And so the hoe makes really light work of just kind of chopping this stuff up. And so a lot of times I just walk through the garden and I just kind of like chop these little sticks up. And I like it somewhat because it creates a free mulch in the garden, and it creates a lot of woody texture that breaks down and keeps my soil health really nice. but I don't have to replace the mulch in my pathways very often, largely because this tree literally just drops absolutely so many things. But a garden hoe is just so freaking useful. So that's my third pick, is a nice quality garden hoe. This next one is an absolute no-brainer, and you can use anything as cheap as a free stick to prop up your plant, or you can buy an expensive panel, and that would be some kind of trellising or support system. Now, obviously, sticks are free, but they are not everyone's favorite thing because they're not custom necessarily. You can buy these little spinny ones, bamboo poles, or even these little green ones. These green ones suck. I kind of hate them the most. Like, I don't really recommend buying this kind, and largely they just get bent. If they break, then you have to throw them away. I think there's plastic and metal, which I'm like, why do we need to have more plastic in the garden? We really don't. So I just don't recommend buying those. But I also don't necessarily think a cattle panel and like these big trellising systems are perfect either. There's a lot of places in the garden where you just want to grow one plant that needs a little extra support height-wise, or maybe you just don't want to spend all the money that it takes to do this. You have to buy 2 big T-posts, and then you have to buy this thing. You have to find a way to secure it, zip ties or whatever. And that can kind of just add up and be expensive. Now, if it's something you're going to have in your garden all the time, it's probably worth the expense to use year over end. But what I really recommend is getting some twine, getting some kind of rope that'll break down, that'll biodegrade, and really twine is the best option here. And you can basically do a weave system. There's a ton of videos, absolutely way too many videos probably, on how to do things like the Florida weave. And you'd basically just weave your plants forward and then behind, and then in front, and then behind. And basically it'll create kind of a pinching effect to where your plant will still be able to sway and move, but they'll be able to get support vertically. So a trellis is just incredible. You've got to have them somewhere. There's so many plants that just require it. And so, yeah, come up with your favorite trellising systems and figure out what your plants like as far as trellising. And more than anything, save money and do something that will actually be good in your garden and something you can repurpose even, because the last thing that we need to do as gardeners is just keep buying more trash and more trash and more trash and more trash. Don't buy these. Like, don't buy them. They suck. So, okay, that's enough of that. Let me tell you my last tip just over here. All right, so the last one that I've got to say is important for absolutely every gardener is fertilizer. And I really can't recommend this pellety stuff, the synthetic stuff. It doesn't really work as well. It'll burn your plants potentially, and it doesn't survive if you don't use all of it. You have to basically throw it away. And I'll show you what happens to it. This is from last year or 2 years ago. Who knows when the last time I even used this was. But it's pink now, and it's supposed to be blue. So that's not good anymore. That's going in the trash. But what I do really like is fish fertilizer. Now this is mostly nitrogen. It's a 5-1-1, which the first number is nitrogen. That's the only one you really need to worry about. Low on the next 2, especially when you're in the springtime. But yeah, you're just focusing on that nitrogen. And fish fertilizer to me makes a lot more sense. When you're thinking about the outdoors, you think about how nature serves nature, right? And so when I think about fish poop, watering my plants and giving them fertilizer, that makes a lot more sense to me than a factory where we're generating little granules that are a funny blue color that somehow turn my plants into better plants. Like, I'm not saying that it's not good or not potentially good, but something about it just doesn't seem right. And especially when there's great alternatives that don't cost anymore, that I know is more of a nature's way of doing it. There's not a lot of plants that need special fertilizers. So what I do is I mostly just focus on nitrogen, and then I just take care of the plants as they go. And if you have really good soil and you're taking care of your soil well and adding the nitrogen in the spring, you're gonna have a lot of success in the garden. The one thing that I want to emphasize is not that any tool is really important for gardening, but that some tools make your experience in the garden better. And so if you don't like one of these tools, or you have a tool that you really like that I didn't include, that is great. The main thing is just getting outside, enjoying your garden, and really sitting in sort of the space that you create with nature and just being able to appreciate it. Like that's one of the things that I have to say is like spring is really fun when you're starting seeds and you're getting plants started. But then there's this little gap where like some of your plants die, or like a heat wave comes through, or like you get too much rain and some stuff dies, or like aphids come in and kill something, or whatever goes wrong. On the other side of it is this sort of warm, nice, accomplished feeling that you did something not completely in your control, but in partnership with nature, and it worked. It's not just when you pull fruit off the vine. It's not just when you make a salad from the things that you've grown in your garden, or when you have way too much of something and you're able to give it to friends, families, and neighbors. It's sitting at my chair in the morning with the dog and just appreciating that I was able to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so I hope for you, as you get out in your garden, start it however small or however big it is, that you have a moment like that. That in June, July, August, you come out when it's super hot during the day, you come out in the morning or you go out at sunset, and you can just appreciate that you did something in partnership with nature. So that's my hope. And if some of these tools make it easier for you to do that, then get them. And there'll be links in the description if you want to see any of these tools and pick them up yourself. They're probably pretty easy to find, but there's a few that I'll definitely want to put in the description for you. And I'll just say this last thing. If you enjoy outdoor content, if you enjoy being outside in your garden or going hiking and camping and just loving outside, you should subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot more videos like this, a lot more adventures, and a lot more fun things that will be happening soon. So subscribe, like, do all the things, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.